Hello again, Windsor Park Baptist Church. We told you earlier this week we want to make sure that we have some resources that are available to you. So for today with our video, I'm joined by Pastor Steve, who is a licensed counselor here in the state of Texas. And I know that many of you right now are feeling anxiety, feeling some fears, some frustration, some just real emotions. And we wanted to take some time to address that and to give them a chance to kind of speak and give us some resources and really just help. And we're hoping in the future to be able to have some more of these and just to make that available to you. But what I want to start with is, Steve, what right now in the midst of all of this in isolation, what's the number one thing you think, hey, this is what I really hope that people get while they're in isolation in regards to their emotional health and things along those lines?
Okay, so I think the first thing would be that you normalize that you have some anxiety, because everybody as a human being experiences anxiety at times, and there's actually an optimal level of stress or anxiety that gets us motivated to do what we need to do. Because if, like, I didn't care at all about a test, I wouldn't study for it. But if I have a little bit of anxiety, that'll motivate me to study for a test that I need to take, for instance. So first of all, I want you to, be nice to yourself, kind to yourself, that, there's not something wrong with you if you have some anxiety. But on the other side of that, if you're overwhelmed by it and it's causing you to shut down or not being able to function, then it's more than it needs to be and more than it should be. And there's things that we can do about that. There's things to address that, so that I don't want to be in denial on one end to say it doesn't exist, and I also don't want to be on the other end to say, this anxiety, since I have it, it's going to control everything I think and feel and all I do. It's going to be as a direct result of my anxiety. We don't have to go there.
So what are some things, some questions I might be able to ask myself, or some resources to say, okay, how do I figure out where I'm sitting in this? If I'm in the normal range or if I'm in the abnormal range, so I kind of know what I need to be doing.
Sure. Well, first of all, if you were in the abnormal range, then you would be totally distressed and it would affect every part of your life, and you would have trouble functioning. So that's outside of the healthy. So the things we can do is to know that our anxiety comes from our thoughts. It comes from our attitude and thoughts. So I need to examine what's going on internally, even though there's some stressors out there, obviously, for all of us, and that doesn't even need to be said. We all know how stressful this situation is for all of us. So it's normal for it to be stressful, but what am I telling myself about it? And is very important that I get to the truth and nothing but the truth. When you take a true-false test in school, if any part of a statement is false, it makes the whole statement false. It has to be 100% true to be a true statement, right? Mm-hmm. So the same thing with our thinking. If it's a little bit off, it's still false. I have to get to the whole truth. So what we tend to do is rev up our emotions whenever there's crisis, whenever there's stressors. We rev it up and we get outside of what's really true. We start believing stuff that really isn't actually true. Mm. So I have to examine that. What am I telling myself? And is that the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay. So besides telling myself the truth, which I think is a great thing to have, are there some other tools as well? I heard you say that stressors have built up, that emotion has built up. Is there some things that we can do practically to kind of diffuse that besides just the truth, some just practical things while I'm sitting in isolation if I can't get to the resources that I need right in that moment?
Yeah, good question. So yes, with emotions, there's two extremes. The one is I bottle it all up inside. I try to keep a lid on it, try to keep it suppressed and pushed down inside of me. That's unhealthy and unhelpful as well. And the other extreme is I let the emotions totally overwhelm me, and that's not healthy either. So the middle is where I want to be with emotion. I want to admit to myself and perhaps to someone else that's a safe person to talk to. You have to decide who that is, because you can't share your deepest thoughts and feelings with everyone, because not everyone's safe to do that with. So you find a safe person, and we can define that if you like. You find a safe person and you share what's going on. You talk it out. So there is therapeutic value. It's healing to get my emotions out that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have someone like that to talk to, it's also healing to write it out, to journal it out. And in cursive is the very best, but you can do it, on computer or however, but they just know for some reason the brain responds, it ties it all together when you're using cursive in writing. You're not writing it for anyone but yourself, but writing it out, journaling is also very helpful to get it out.
So getting it out in some way, preferably with a person, which doesn't have to be a licensed counselor, but
No.
needs to be a safe person. Can you go ahead and define, you said, hey, you could define, what is a safe person? What's the person that I need to be looking for if I can?
Okay, so a safe person, and this is, not just for anxiety, but for anything, a safe person to talk to is someone who's supportive and non-judgmental. They will always be on your side, trying to be encouraging and supportive, not critical, not trying to fix you, not giving you unsolicited advice, but they will be a good listener and a good support, and they'll give you what you ask for, but not more. They won't take it upon themselves to try and fix you or tell you stuff you don't want to hear. So, and they will keep your confidence. They won't share it with other people. They'll keep it, private, whatever you've said. That's very important. They won't gossip about you. And yeah, I think those are the main parts on being safe. The people that are safe people are able to do that.
Well, I think this is a good start to kind of help people with those resources. The number one thing I take away from this session is making sure to deal with it. One, acknowledge the emotions. And then after that, to then get them out in a healthy and safe place. I think the only other thing that I would want to leave folks with to make sure they know is when is the time when they need to reach out besides just to a safe person. When is it they need to get some more professional help and say, okay, here, I think that I've talked to my safe person, that didn't help like I thought it would. When do they need to say, okay, now you need to take the next step and get some additional help? What's some signs of that?
Yeah, basically when you're shutting down, whenever, an example in depression, when you can't get out of bed, in anxiety, when you're having panic attacks and you don't seem to be able to talk yourself down, you don't seem to be able to comfort yourself or calm yourself. And that's happening to a point that it's disturbing and disrupting your life. You can't have the conversations you want to have with people. You can't go the places you want to go because you're so anxious.
Okay.
It's so built up. And one other thing I want to say we talked about, finding if there's something untrue. You want to replace the untruth with the truth. So the next step you take after you examine what you're telling yourself, if you find out it's not completely true, it's very important that you get to what is 100% true, what is the whole truth, the absolute truth. Because once I know the truth, it will change the way I feel. Because our thinking and our emotions are all linked together.
Oh, I think that's great. I think that's a huge help to realize how we are all one connected entity. Sometimes we try to separate our emotions from our body, from our minds, and how it all ties together. And what a great resource to have there, and to be realizing we have to change our thinking. I'd love to do another video and talk more about how we change our thinking and how we work on those things. But please know, if you're watching this video, we're here to help you. We're here to be praying for you, and this is just another resource for you in the midst of isolation to examine your emotions and see where you're at. And it's okay to not be okay. And there is such a thing as anxiety, and there's such a thing as unhealthy anxiety. So we're so glad that we can be a part of your life during this time. And please know, again, we love you and we care for you.